All right, let's go ahead and kick off. First of all, this is a quick one. The coalition top off funds, invoices sent this week. And then the other thing is, I believe that Douglas still had something that he wanted to present on a Monday meeting. He couldn't make this past Monday for prior commitments. Was there anything else on this?
I believe not. Jesse, do you happen to know where Douglas is on the status of that?
No more than anybody else on the call.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. All right. P2P optimized transaction propagation. Just a reminder, we had the vote last week. And I think we are still in process of getting the details of that worked out. But last week we had the permission to move forward. I don't believe there's any additional update on this unless Bart or Ted, if you're here, anything you guys want to add?
I am here. I'll let Bart go first.
Okay.
We're still looking at that nitty-gritty, but I don't have anything to add right now.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't believe have even notified OCI of the fact that we would like Jonathan to pick this up. Do you feel we have, Bart?
No, we haven't spiked that out and communicated yet.
Yeah. So
Should I be tasking one of our project managers to kind of put some boundaries around this and get it running? Or we can take this offline, I guess.
it probably needs to come from Bart's team as like requirements of how he wants to manage it. But yeah, it would be good if you gave a project manager to Bart for that.
Yep. All right. P2P Peer Discovery. I'll give a quick update on this. There has been a kickoff meeting with Fudan or FD Blockchain. And so in right now, the project team with the project managers, they're getting the typical structures in place. They are going to be doing weekly check-in meetings. There's going to be a more detailed work breakdown structure so that we can understand what these high-level milestones that they propose consist of. We'll be able to track that. And I think the first weekly status meeting is not next week, but it'll be the week after was the agreement. So the project is moving along, and I'll just update you guys when there's any major issues or if we get close to a milestone. Any questions on that? All right, next one, RAM limitation fixes. This one, Bart, do we want to talk about the initial requirements draft that was said? Like, have we revised it into like a structure to execute yet, or are we still essentially focusing on the March release right now, and then we'll pick this up shortly thereafter?
Yeah, we're heads down on the March release right now. We wouldn't actually start this until after that is stable and ready to go. Jeff, have we officially submitted our proposal yet and gotten it voted on? I know that was in the works on the EOS side. I just don't know if it's been made its way here.
We have not submitted the numbers yet. So we got the approval to do so outside of like a more formal RFP process. We still have to submit those numbers.
Okay. All right. we should circle back up on the inside of ENF and make sure that if there are any blockers to get those numbers out ASAP, that they're cleared.
Okay. Next one, another ENF project, the Antler CDT. We should be publishing probably later this week the monthly health report for updates on that. This one has a lot of things going into the March release. As we've talked about in previous weeks, the scope is still steady. And as far as I'm aware, everything is still on track for the inclusion of the March release, other than the scope that was pulled several months ago. Bart, Ted, anything you'd like to add to that?
None from me.
Yeah, I don't have anything either on that.
Yep. Again, no news is often good news when projects are just in the middle.
Very true.
Next one about Ledger. Ted, do you have information you want to present today?
Well, in fact, I do. How proud of myself I am. So I have an answer, which will then immediately allocate work to the chain heads. We can do it, but it's not what we originally thought. So there won't be a quote Antelope or EOS Ledger app that, you know, has all 4 of the tokens listed after it. Instead, and it took a little while, I've been working with his name is Thomas Julian, and he is the product manager of the whole product line. So I got the right guy, which is awesome. And we worked through and figured out the way to do this is to build the single binary, because if there was 3 options, right? Either we can put all the tokens over the one, can't do that. The next one was, well, give them 4 binaries. And they're like, great, well, you're going to be 4 times the cost because you have to pay for 4 times the audits, et cetera. And then I was asking, you know, like, well, can't we just give you 1 binary and we just kind of give you the assets go with it and you take that 1 binary? So this is where I made a bit of an assumption, but I do believe it's what I heard on this call, that 1 binary does work with all 4 of the different chains. And if that is in fact true, what they'll let us do, we would have to commission Eric Passmore, who is on Bart's team. I have already discussed this with Bart, so none of this is a surprise to him. And we would then charge for that work. It's not an enormous amount of work. It's make files and stuff like that to modify it to where the binary will come out to where there's 4 binaries. It's the same binary, but there's the metadata and the assets that wrap around them. And so there's going to be an EOS version, a WAX version, a Telos version, and a UX version. So we can get that done at the engineering level, but it then requires 3 different types of logos because of the different stores the logos go in, or it's attached to this or it's attached to that. One of the logos must be black and white, et cetera, et cetera. And there are 2 pages. There's a page that has to be written in the knowledge base. And then there's a page that hangs off the, the search of when you're searching in the app. It's like when you want to say, hey, do you have something for the WAXP token? There's this page that shows up, and it's required that, the chain itself would have to write it. So what I would like, and I am surprising Jeff with this, which I try not to do. Sorry, Jeff. I would like Jeff to assign a project manager to this, because trust me, it'll go way better than if I pretend I'm a project manager. We clearly are pulling together 3 different chains that will have deliverables to us to get us the icons, to get us the help pages, et cetera, et cetera. We can give you the specs from Thomas it would be, I see Aaron, your feedback, it would literally be 1 app that is just branded 4 different ways. So Wax will have an app. But it's the 1 binary, just the build, and that way they can validate, like, okay, you're just making it where this 1 binary, which works across these chains. One of the other requests that Thomas had was that show him that the Ledger app using the current EOS app, the Ledger device, works against WAX or works against Telos or UX, and that can be demonstrated in a little video or however you want to make the proof of, like, yeah, this thing does work on these 4 chains. and he'll do all the paperwork necessary to allow this to come in. So I've explained a lot there. Clearly, what I'm saying is we don't want to go have Eric do all that work if then we're waiting for one of the other chains to provide back these assets that we'll need to bundle with it to then submit it. So we would want to wait until either a cutoff day where we're like, sorry, chain XYZ, you're not going to be included. You just weren't responsive, but we'll take care of the other two chains that got back to us, et cetera. Assuming all of this works. Now I'll pause. Maybe Aaron, you might want to explain that or ask me a question.
Sure. So the big concern here is there will be 4 apps, and users who use all 4 chains will need to install 4 apps on their device. The Nano S currently is only going to be able to hold 3. So there is no possibility for an individual user to be able to install all 4 on that device type, which I think may be the most popular type.
Yeah.
And in an IBC world where they are going to want to be doing transfers between all of them, there might be a game of musical chairs where users have to uninstall one app to make space to install the other app. That is largely why the goal was to have one binary branded Antelope that works with any Antelope chain.
So
yeah.
So understood. I'm not certain that this would be a good question for me to follow up with Thomas is, hey, once that one binary is on there, like there's just, maybe we make a 5th one. I'm brainstorming in real time. So if I,
Right.
sound like a complete moron, just assume that I am. Maybe we make one called Antelope, and we can't list 4 tokens is the downside of the way their their app catalog, which is, once you have the device up. So I happen to have a couple of different ledgers, so you've got, whether you could have 2 plugged in at once, I don't know, it's, I get your point. The real question is, and I'm not discounting you, Aaron, you're extremely important. You might be more of the edge case than the rule. How many users want all 4 at the same time? I think your team is a block producer on multiple chains right now, but there likely are people that have an affinity more towards one than the other. I think they can probably use 2 different chains. 2 different devices, and just put this one in for this chain and this one in for this chain. How much are we solving for the edge case when we've got seemingly some restrictions? Because I don't know if it would help to say this is, and I'm brainstorming, this is the Antelope one, but how do we explain and make it searchable so that you realize, oh, I want EOS and wax, and it tells you, oh, use the Antelope one, don't use the EOS or the wax one. When in reality, they're all the same. We could try to start to massage some of that into the explanation things, like the page that comes up in the catalog, the page that comes up in the knowledge base. I'm just trying to figure out, like, clearly if the app does work, it sounds like more of a documentation thing, but we just can't get the 4, unfortunately, tags in the app store, in the app catalog.
I think there's probably a very similar situation going on right now with EVM, and there will be, maybe Telos, you guys could speak to this too. If you're going to use a ledger with Telos EVM, and I assume it'll be identical with the EOS EVM and the Wax and all the other EVMs, you download the Ethereum app for your ledger. You don't have an individual one for each EVM to be able to sign transactions. And I mean, that is an instructional thing that I'm assuming chains with EVMs do. And following that same model, it kind of leads to just having an Antelope app. Like, there would not be an EOS or Wax or Telos app specifically.
But why not have both and let people that are doing the, people that want to do multi-chain, they can just download the Antelope one. But I personally, as a selfish son of a bitch that I am, want one that says EOS right on it, market the shit out of that one. Like, we're, like, I'm not against having a shared.
I have a question though. Isn't Ledger saying, sorry, we don't care if you want one, we're not going to give you one?
No, they're not saying that. They're saying we won't.
They're saying it's possible.
Yes, you can do that, but they won't let you list 4 tokens after it. It won't.
That's what I'm saying. So they're saying no.
No. Well, it depends on how you interpret no. If we
Okay, sorry. Let me ask then, Aaron. What you're proposing, Aaron, Ledger is saying no. Is that correct?
I don't think that's true.
No, they're for marketing purposes. I think they're saying no to listing multiple tokens on it. Then their experience again might be because of EVM, in that, like, you know, you have the Ethereum app that handles probably every EVM on every EVM compatible chain, but they probably took the stance that no, we're not going to add every token that this app works with into the description of that one app. So it's probably not a technical limitation. It's probably a marketing limitation.
And that's what I'm saying. So if they're saying no to that, do we even have an option?
Well, you could make up a garbage token name, like whatever is this. If we ever remember, we were talking about a synthetic or a set token or something odd in the early days of talking the coalition. If you created that token, which was like a, kind of a, I can't think of the word I'm looking, like a mixed value of our combined tokens, you could list that after it. It just might not be what people are truly expecting. The main thing is the way in your catalog, in the app catalog, when you have your device up, if you're like, oh, hey, I have some wax as well, type in wax and it shows you, well, here's the wax app. And it's this, to Aaron's point, it's the exact same binary. You could have used the EOS app.
I agree. But they're saying no, correct?
They're right. They're not letting that piece work. But on the knowledge base and on the, there's a support page, we could say on the support page. So like once you bring up and you see, oh, here's the EOS token or here's the wax token, it says learn more, and you can click on learn more. And that's a page we can control. And we could say, by the way, did you know this also works with the wax, Telos, and UX chains? And on the UX one, it says this works with the EOS, wax, and Telos chain. We could at least manipulate it at that level. We just can't get to the top level of the app catalog and make it have more than one token. So I'm trying to help bridge to where Aaron wants to go, which says, hey, get the 4 in there that have the token because the token matters. And then say on those, you can use this same one. And then you could throw an Antelope in there. I just don't know what you would use as the token that followed it, ANT, but no, there's probably a token called ANT, of course. But, you could get an Antelope one in there and it could have all the right stuff. The question is, what would the person be looking for when they typed Antelope? Because most of the searches are done by the token, unfortunately. But we could at least make it where you got into the learn more page and it says, you don't need to add the second one. You've got the wax one. It'll work with EOS, Telos, and UX.
I guess what I'm asking is, Aaron, you proposed something. You were saying you don't like the fact that it would have, or maybe I'm not understanding correctly. You don't like the fact that it would point you to 4 separate apps, because then that is an issue. My question is, what is the alternate? What other options do we have then? Because the constraint is they won't allow that for us.
Well, they do allow it. They just don't let you search it by token.
Yeah.
If I understand, sorry,
Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, if I understand correctly, I mean, you could have like one app for each chain, and maybe even one that would be branded Antelope.
Yeah,
and then they would all work for all chains. Yeah, so I mean, it kind of like, I don't think it's a problem. I think it basically solves everything.
No, that is that problem. That what Aaron is saying, right? Because then you would have 4 separate applications.
Well, no, because you could still install any of them. They would be like all functionally like identical, and they would all work with all tokens. It's just that there would exist 5 different ones or 4 different ones for the chains, branded with the tokens for each. but they would still
I
all work.
misunderstand. Aaron said you're limited in the amount of apps you can install, and so you made all into a place where you have
But
them
you can
install.
you can still install a single one, and that single one would work with everything.
But the
You
problem,
don't need to install the 4.
but the problem is user education. It's not clear
Right.
to the, because this is true today. They can take the EOS one today and use it on Wax and Telos and UX, but the user education is the gap. And the thing they're not letting us do is bridge that gap. And it's slightly different than EVMs because the EVM tokens probably are all Ethereum, and these are actually 4 different tokens. So it's slightly different. I understand Aaron's analogy, but we would need to try to make it where in the, because there is a knowledge base that's searchable and there is the learn more piece. And these are the 2 pages each chain needs to write. And in there, and we would agree, I would at least, Ted will try to edit pages if needed. That would, we would change ours to say, by the way, this also works on UX, Wax, Telos. And by the way, we have if you prefer the Antelope branded one, which it's all the same binary, the thing is the user education is what's causing them to unknowingly download the 3rd one, which eats up all the memory in the nano device. The actual device itself runs out of memory. And so because of that, the question is, how do we get them to know they only really need any one of the 4 or possibly 5 if we make Antelope? The only way is through this learn more and the knowledge base, because their marketing requirement, and mostly constrained by space, I think, won't allow the 4 tags.
I think if there was a 5th one that was just Antelope branded, like we made one that was generic. I'm thinking about this from like our perspective as we're educating users about all networks. We would direct people to the Antelope branded one. And if each network wants to promote their own independent app, that's fine. But I do think that the vast majority of Ledger users on all of these networks are going to be coming from the Anchor perspective anyways. So I don't even know if it's worth the effort to make that branded one unless people are launching Ledger Live and searching by the token name, which I don't honestly know if people do that because
I did that.
True. You just can't do anything without Anchor in that instance, or you're using blocks.io or some website that directly integrates with the Anchor or with the Ledger.
The reason I did that is most of my crypto holdings in terms of dollar value are in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so because of that, I first was dealing with those. And then I thought, hey, I've got some EOS too. Why aren't I putting that on my ledger? And I looked and it's like, oh, you got to also, it's not the same as dealing with Ethereum or Bitcoin. You got to include your wallet and do some integration and stuff like that. And so like I approached as a person holding the 2 dominant coins. Other people might be just only in the EOS ecosystem or Telos ecosystem, and they approach through their wallet. So it just depends on how they arrive. Did they arrive through the wallet, or did they arrive because they're a crypto person and they also hold, one of our 4 coins?
Yeah, there's not a super ideal situation, at least at this very moment.
Yeah, I mean, on Wax, we instruct users to use EOS app, right? So it's kind of, we already go through this explanation and education where, you can use EOS app to do anything Wax related. It would be fantastic to have something that is Wax branded, because that allows us to, like you said, market the shit out of it. But I can understand as we integrate more and more together through IBC and we work together on projects, then, people will need, it may get confusing. So, I mean, I will be fine with just having, Antelope, generic one, and we can just market that and do the same explanation like we're doing with EOS, and, that would work as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that level, we should maybe let the chains go back and have marketing conversations before we try to just make that decision right here. you know, there may be a desire for some chains to have their own and market it. And there's no harm in having an Antelope one. And again, the user education, this is the exact same binary. The user education is, if you want to do multi-chain on Antelope and you've already got one downloaded because you started on Telos, let's say, well, don't worry. It works on EOS and WAX and UX. I mean, there's a bunch more we can do in user education, you know, without getting people to go, oh, now I got to pull my WAX one off or my EOS one off and put on a Antelope. Like, no, they're all really Antelope kind of going forward. But it also still lets, I mean, in some ways we do compete with each other. So, you know, if one of the 4 chains decided they wanted to put marketing behind this, they may decide they want to put the marketing behind themselves versus behind Antelope. In my mind, if we were going to market the Antelope ledger device, it would come from a shared budget, which we decided, which was from the fund that we, you know, just approved recently. And that's what would pay to market the Antelope one. The rest of it, the chains, because we are kind of, you know, cooperation and competition, one of us may decide we're gonna market much more heavily than the other 3 chains. We wouldn't want, that chain likely wouldn't want to put their money in Antelope. They'd want to put it behind their brand. So, I mean, I think we want to give flexibility for cooperation and competition where it's felt as a differentiator.
I think this discussion would be a lot different if you could actually use the ledger software and it didn't require an external device to, or an external piece of software to use the ledger. I'm kind of looking through their stuff right now, and they really don't explain how you get started. They just tell you to install the EOS app, which if you were a brand new user and you just installed the EOS app, you can't do anything.
Oh, I agree. But chances are you probably were either an Anchor wallet user and you've explained it to them, or you were an EOS holder that is like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, ledger user, and you're realizing, I've got to kind of connect dots here, which was my realization. Like, I have an Anchor wallet. Oh, I've got Bitcoin and Ethereum on my ledger. Like, oh, this isn't the same. This isn't as easy. This is harder. And because, but you're right. If you were on Ledger and deciding, gee, I think I'd like to buy some EOS, it's probably not going to happen. That's not the path that gets you to be an EOS user, right? Being on your ledger. You're probably holding some EOS and you're deciding to protect it onto a ledger, right? And you're holding that EOS likely in an Anchor wallet.
Hopefully other wallets if they add support. Yeah, it's a difficult situation. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts that need to be fixed around here. I think a 5th app kind of does satisfy what we need from our perspective, like just having the Antelope branded one. Then from the Anchor website that doesn't exist yet that we're working on, we would direct people to that specifically rather than individual apps. So if we were the starting point for that user experience, that we then funnel them into one thing. Now, if the EOS website wants to point people to an EOS app, that's cool. I'm assuming there's some extra overhead in deploying an EOS branded app that doesn't do anything else specifically. But then you're still going to have to refer them to our landing page after that to complete the process. So I guess what I'm saying is you could just direct them to us to begin with, or another wallet. It doesn't have to be Anchor. And then we direct them into the Antelope side. So really each organization's decision, but
they probably already have an EOS wallet. This is just upgrading to Anchor security. This isn't like, hey, I want to get into EOS. This is, hey, I want to protect my EOS. I already have the EOS or WAX or, you know, Telos UX.
Right. And in that case, they are going to need a wallet like Anchor that supports the ledger. And then they will likely look at that wallet that supports Ledger, and the guidance from that wallet to set up the Ledger is what they'll use.
Well, I would, you know, again, as a partner of ours, all of ours collectively, hopefully we would have some influence on what you do there, Aaron.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But like, I guess what I'm saying is when we're doing it, we need to be agnostic and we need to support all chains. So we're not going to we don't want to tell our users you need to download 4 different apps. Like that just
agree. And so like, again, if your instructions could be as simple as, if you only use EOS or WAX, or if you only use one of these, go download that. If you use 2 or more, go download the Antelope app and it'll work with all of them. And then you're kind of explaining it without breaking branding.
it's still more complicated than just saying use this one thing. Like you're introducing an element of choice purely for a marketing perspective.
And billions in branding, like for you to say it's easier for me, and we're like, yeah, but we care about our brand. I'd be shocked if we said we don't care about our brand, and like, hey, let's just divert our brand into this thing because it's easier for the Anchor wallet. Like, that's not how branding works.
It's not easier for us. It's easier for your users. Like there is a certain point at which marketing inhibits your users' experience. And that's...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was all I was saying.
It's only easier if they hold 2 or more tokens. If they only hold 1 token, it's confusing to say, because many people don't even know what the hell Antelope is. They're like, I got a whole bunch of EOS. I'm going to stick it on my ledger. Oh, get this Antelope thing. What the hell is that? Whereas if it's like, hey, I got a whole bunch of EOS, I want to protect it on my ledger, and I have nothing else but EOS, I don't have any Telos, WAX, or it's like, yeah, go get the EOS app. And they're like, that makes sense.
That's the experience we have today. Like Lucas just described that for WAX. It's, you want to use a ledger with WAX, go download the EOS app. They're going to be like, what the hell is EOS?
No, but hey, man, we're going to fix that if we do this. He will then say,
Actually,
go get the WAX app and it'll work. Again, only if they use 2 or more coins should we say, guess what? Guess what WAX and Telos have in common? They're Antelope chains. Get the Antelope wallet, get the Antelope Ledger app, and you can work with all of your wallets, including X, Y, and Z. And that makes it where you're like, don't put 3 of these things on your Ledger device, you'll run out of space. But for people that are just, and you probably have actual data, Aaron, which I don't, which is how many, and I don't know if you'd be able to tell this from your data, how many end users have both Telos and WAX, or what's the intersection? Is it 80% or is it 3%? And if it's 3%, like this is an edge case. You have to accommodate the edge case, but you don't want to design and destroy brand for the edge case.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, but to that point, with IBC being just launched, we're moving towards a future where that number will increase. So whatever it is today,
successful. I mean, we don't know.
Well, let's hope it is.
We do, but like we can't bet the future yet on it.
No, kind of to go back to that from our perspective, like what you just described is the addition of more cognitive load to the end user. With the approach I'm describing, like if Anchor just says, like our marketing materials just say, download this app, right? We're only going to point to the Antelope app. There's no choice there. There's no additional cognitive load. If we have to ask the users in advance and be like, which blockchains are you going to use? There's now a decision in the user experience, in that path of achieving the user's goal, that they have to decide upon. And it may be a small decision, but it's from like, at least my immediate perspective, it's a unnecessary decision that we're putting in front of the users. That could just be eliminated.
I completely see what you're saying, Aaron. However, you're speaking from Anchor Wallet's perspective. You're not speaking from Chain's perspective, and I can appreciate it. From WAX perspective, as a chain, I would love to have an opportunity to market a specific ledger wallet, because then people can actually look by our ticker symbol, and it all works. There are going to be more and more wallets in the ecosystem supporting Ledger. So
yeah,
from that perspective, it makes sense to have a WAX branded app, right? And then you as a company, when that happens, will have to adapt, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know that, I mean, you guys are free to do this. I guess I'm just saying that from our perspective, like we're going to brand all of it and market all of the chains, but when it comes to this specific process and the user experience around it, we're going to default to the Antelope one. We're not going to direct our Wax users to install the Wax version, the EOS users to install the EOS version. Like,
and that's fine. I mean, all I'm saying is that we will continue market Anchor as a hardware wallet like we've always done, and hopefully all that cross pollination and education works. And it should all work. From Wax perspective as a chain, having an ability to have that extra marketing push and being able to convert users into Wax by saying simply, oh, you can find the ticker symbol. It brings more credibility, right, to the project. Like, oh, the ticker is listed on the ledger. Oh, look, there's a supported ledger app. That is a lot of green check marks in terms of the credibility for the project.
It's true,
right?
And I
Important.
guess my motivation here is to avoid excess effort that may not be needed. So that's my entire intention here, is that doing 5 apps is more complicated than just doing one. So
Right. But I think
if it's a big priority, like, go for it.
And we can also educate on our side, right? And I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but I just want to say, as we're enabling IBC, as these tools are being built, we can also educate people the same way we're funneling into Anchor, and we could educate as chains, like, you've got Wax, your entry point into Antelope ecosystem was Wax, let's say. Fantastic. You installed the app already. Great. You have Anchor. Fantastic. You know what? You wanna use IBC and go to Telos and EOS. Guess what? You don't have to do a single thing anymore. Everything should work, right?
So, Aaron, there's one more piece I might need your help on, and I'll go back to Thomas. I think we're going to minimally I'm hearing is, I'm also reading what Justin put in the blog here. In the chat, you were hearing chains kind of saying, yeah, I kind of want my branded one. Let's agree we'll do an Anchor, because I get what you're saying as well, Aaron, and it doesn't hurt. And it's, this extra thing, and it works with all of our chains. A little bit of education, maybe, if you arrive at the wrong spot. Now, for people that did my use case or came into the Ledger app to get to the catalog, I think all the demos I was seeing was they were searching on the token name and not like the chain name and stuff like that. And so maybe I'm wrong about that, but it may be that they don't let an app in unless it has a token. So if that's the case, obviously Antelope does not have a token. If that's the case, then I will go back to Thomas. So you can say, yeah, come back next week and tell us if that's what Thomas said, or I can just let us chew on the fact, like, you get one. Do we put one in there? Like, and it can't be the same. So we can't make two things resolve. One ticker can't resolve the two different apps. So we have the issue of, like, how do you get to this Antelope app that gets built that's a combination of the 4 if we can't put the ticker after it? Like, if we had the synthetic set token, maybe that would work. And you could say then, hey, search for this token in the Ledger store so that you can take it and download it to your device. But it seems like we're missing a piece. There does need to be a token listed after the app in the store. So even if we agree to Antelope, I don't know what that token would be.
Yeah, maybe it could be a fake token. Maybe it could be Antelope. Or like Justin is saying, maybe it could be Sys.
Well, we got to register that, right? We got to somehow get that written. Can't just make something up that could collide with however tokens are defined on CoinMarketCap and stuff. I will research this, so I'll take an action item. God forbid I forget this one. That I will reach back to Thomas to ask, like, hey, we'd like to just make this 5th one. How would we do that if we don't have a token for it? How would that work? Because all the demos he was giving me, he was using the tokens each time. So, obviously, none of us can just conjure.
Right. Just to
I've
confirm,
been just doing quick research, and like all the EVMs have their own apps. So like Polygon has its own, and it seems like it's all tied to an actual ticker symbol.
That's true. They have built the Ethereum app though differently, in that you only need to, with all those Polygon, Avalanche, Phantom, you have to install the Ethereum app first, and then you have to install Polygon or Phantom or Avalanche. So it's a different design architecture, which is both good and bad, because it's good in that you're saving storage, that they don't duplicate the same functionality in the background. So there's a very limited amount of storage on the Ledger devices, especially the old Ledger Nano S that some people have. Hopefully, maybe like as people get newer ones, this is less of an issue, but it's a good design because of that. But with what we're going to be doing or potentially doing, it might be like a 40 or 50 kilobyte app that would be duplicated across all of them. Whereas the way it works with Ethereum and Polygon is like the Ethereum app is like 50 kilobytes, and then you add the Avalanche or Polygon app, they're only like 2 or 3 kilobytes, because there's only the system token. So the only thing that is changed is leveraging the rest of the architecture from the Ethereum app itself.
Maybe we can get, I'm brainstorming here, maybe we can, if we do this right, we can get it to be like, that would be for us as well. He was showing me how these Ethereums worked down at the makefile level, and he was saying you would copy this process. So maybe that is the, obviously there is no Antelope base. So maybe, but I will check that concept with Thomas as well. Like, hey, can we have this Antelope base where you're only adding this 2 kilobyte head on, and if you download any one of them, they get the base plus the head, and then any additional one just gets the head to it, which would solve part of the thing that Aaron is seeing as well. And I'd still say I'm fine with an Antelope thing. I just got to figure out the token answer, or get the answer from Thomas on that. But maybe we can do this 2-part thing as well, because that might just be a marketing piece that's on the top piece of that app.
Yeah, if we could, I mean, that's going to require some serious development, I assume, to make that happen. But yeah, I was just looking, the Polygon app is 4 kilobytes, and the Ethereum app's about 80. So as long as we don't have multiple 80 kilobyte apps, and we can have one, and then, you can add the additional branch ones on top of that, that would be awesome. It's just, I will assume that is going to take reworking of the actual app itself to make it more modular and extendable.
It might be right, but he was showing me how Ethereum did it, because they're like, we don't want all these Ethereum apps in here. So it was literally done at a makefile level, and maybe it is just the small amount of branding differential that is doing it. So I'll have that answer, hopefully. I don't know that I can get him on my calendar by next week and have this resolved by next week, but I will attempt to do that.
Awesome.
So, assuming that the other chains would like to have, let's just for now put a hold on the Antelope one while I get the answer for that. Assuming you would each like that, I will need, after Jeff assigns a project manager, we will communicate out the deliverables that you have to have, like the knowledge base page, the learn more page, the 3 different types of logos, one of which has to be black and white because it goes on to the actual Ledger device itself. We would need to have a contact from each of the 3 chains that we would determine in a reasonable amount of time if they were providing these materials back as we got these deliverables done and be able to push it through. Should we do that this week? I mean, that won't be affected by whether we have an Antelope or not. So we could actually start to kick this process off. You guys could either name someone, or Jeff can reach out, or however. Maybe we make a special Telegram group, which is a subgroup of the Antelope core group, which is, the ledger piece, and we can talk in there. I'm open-minded. I'm kind of brainstorming now, but we do need you guys to give us a contact point that will start to produce the deliverables that we're talking about. We'll share a document with that person and say, these are the things we're going to need. And that project manager will iterate. So, should we do that now? Each chain giving us a person now, or is that something Jeff can start to drive offline by creating a ledger subgroup under the Antelope core group?
Yeah, I would recommend let's have our project manager do that, so all the information is organized in the project templates and stuff.
Very good. Thank you.
I can be a contact person for that, and I'll get you guys whatever resources are needed. I'll just triage internally to make sure it gets done.
Thank you.
Same for me.
Who was that just said that? Was that Justin?
Thought it was Guillaume.
Oh, Guillaume. Sorry.
Yeah, I can be the contact person for now for Telos.
Okay.
Yeah, Nathan from our team's working on that, so I'll probably bring him in and he'll replace me.
Very good.
Thank you.
I can
I was going to ask, but you volunteered, so thank you.
I can serve as because all of these apps are going to require third-party wallets to be installed. Like if you look through the App Store, it either says Ledger Live supported or third-party app. Since we support them all, we can be that point of contact. And all of the guides that exist on Ledger's site right now, like if you go through the documentation, those all desperately need to be updated. Right now, their guide for how to do this is to download Scatter and create keys, and then go to EOS X to create an account, and then to install Anchor to set up. So there's like this complicated 3-step process.
Yeah, we should fix that ourselves. So Jeff, part of the project management is we have to fix the EOS pages as well. Clearly that wasn't something Eric was going to do. They also have other references that need to be cleaned up. It's obviously super easy to use Anchor on an iOS or Android device. Create an account in 3 seconds. To me, that's the easiest way to get a person, at least on EOS. I assume it's just as easy on Wax and Telos and UX. And I'm not ashamed to just point everybody to Anchor unless I'm told not to.
All right, is that, it was a good discussion on this. Any follow-up? Final thing?
Yeah, I owe answers back as soon as I can get through another meeting with Thomas.
Right.
And you'll do the project management starting. They've named themselves as the leads, to work to get the document. You'll need to get the document from me, Jeff, to disperse it and all that. Bart and I are the only 2 people that have a copy at this point.
Okay. All right, next item is IBC. Question for this, Guillaume. Is this something that at this point we can close down as a topic for this meeting for a couple months?
Yeah, well, the security audit for sure that's been done, and it's all taken care of. And then for the update, still working on it. We've got the new our new priorities as per last week. We moved forward 3 of the kind of tail end priorities. So we're working on these now. We should have an update on at least the first one probably next week. Next week we should have at least the first one of these 3 ready for review, as well as at least another one of the instant finality priorities that will also be ready for review next week. So hopefully going to be able to process them quickly from the review side of things. These 3 priorities that we had scheduled for later. One thing that I already discussed with Eric, and he was very open to that, was we could use BPs to review them because they are essentially they have more to do with infrastructure that people are going to be running. So it doesn't necessarily involve the ENF engineering as much as the code base that we're like working on the instant finality side of things. So if that's okay with the coalition, if we get some of the well-known and well-respected BPs to review these, that would alleviate the load on ENF engineering, and would also probably get them reviewed faster. So unless anyone objects, I would suggest we go that route. Get teams like EOS Nation, EOS USA, and others to review it. Doesn't seem to be any objection, so that's pretty much it. Yep.
On the topic, should we, since this is recorded in public, just review what we discussed on, was it Monday or Tuesday?
With regards to instant finality and IBC, or
The adding of more tokens and kind of the stance of the different chains in general, and adding to the official registry, or if a community-based registry is going to have to create itself. And specifically USDT being the only likely one that will be accepted. Do we want to rehash that so people can be aware that watch this recording?
I don't think we reached any final decision there. I mean, we can certainly discuss it today, but we only have 4 minutes left, so I don't know if that's enough.
Okay. Well, I thought, Eve, did you not kind of state your position for EOS and what you expect to be good and not good there? And I thought we were going to see USDT supported and not expect anything beyond that to be formal.
Well, I mean, we didn't. I don't think we concluded anything just yet, because as we left it off, if I remember correctly, Eve was suggesting that there would be some sort of a nominal fee that would be essentially like paid for USDT transfers, but we haven't discussed numbers, or we haven't discussed how would that work. So,
okay, but it sounds like it's not worth talking about.
Probably needs to be a bit more fleshed out in the Monday call before.
Sounds like a good topic.
For Monday?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, what was, can you give me a name for the topic so I write this correctly?
I can say IBC community whitelist, and I guess USDT support or something like that.
All right. Thank you. All right, we have 3 minutes. Aaron, as far as I know, everything is going well on SDK. Is that correct?
Correct. Nothing critical to bring up.
All right, any final thoughts today?
Good discussion, guys.
Agreed.
All right, everyone. You have a wonderful evening, day, whatever.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Have a good one, guys.